So my first vlog request was a labor and delivery vlog, which that's me basically reliving one of the scariest, most painful days of my life. And my munchkin's in the back sleeping right over there. So he'll probably be up some way, somehow through this video because he's been asleep for a while. He's sick. But okay, so Mom, I apologize if you see this video because now you're gonna know the truth of why I went into labor, but okay, whatever. You're gonna find out one day. So August 30th, I had marked 39 weeks and I was like, I'm over it. I was still working, still active, all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I can't do it anymore. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm tired of being pregnant. I just want to see what he looks like. I want to go through the pain already. I don't know why I was ready for pain, but I was ready. So I went to work that morning and I'm like jogging up and down the steps because I work in a group home. So I'm like jogging from the first floor to the second floor. I did like 10 flights, and that's including up and down as one flight. I was like squatting, like slightly pushing. I'm like, okay, whatever. I ate like 3 or 4 oranges, supposedly citrus helps and all this stuff. I didn't really feel anything, but like for a week prior I was like leaking this awkward, sorry if you don't want to hear this, but this like awkward like pinkish fluid, and I'm like, I know I didn't pee on myself, so like what the hell is this? So I went to the ER a few days before the day I'm explaining, and they're like, maybe it was just pee. I'm like, no, I can tell if I peed on myself. Like, this is not pee, but okay, we can lie and say it's pee. So after I did the jogging at work, I was like, screw this. I'm going on maternity leave today. And everyone's like, but you didn't even give birth yet. And I'm like, nope, today I'm over it. Like, he's coming. So I went to my job and I dropped off my paperwork. They're like, do you know like when you're due? Because as soon as we process this for today's date, like you're on maternity leave and you only get a certain amount of weeks regardless of if you give birth like a long time after or something like that. I'm like, I really don't care. I'm overworked. So boom, put in my paperwork and filed it. Then I was like, Ma, you know, I really want to induce my labor. So oh my god, my son scratched me. Alright, but I'm like, Mom, I really want to induce my labor today, right now preferably. So I'm like, there's all these things we can try. It's like pedicures and like pineapples and stuff. Now my boyfriend's at work, so a few of the things which I'll get into later, but I was unable to do at the moment. So I'm like, let me do the things that I can do with somebody else, so I'm not like by myself, God forbid, if I go into labor. So me, my mom, and my son's godmother, we go and get our feet done. So I'm like, okay, this is like an awkward way to go into labor, but if it says it's gonna work, why not? Let's try it. So I got my feet done, I got like my nails done, I got them really short because I'm like, yeah, I'm about to have my baby soon and I can't have long nails. That's all I kept saying. My mom was like, Destiny, that's a myth, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, knowing me, I'm gonna scratch him, so let me just stick to short nails. So I get a pair of short nails. When I tell you short, they were like preschool short. Like, I haven't gotten that short since like middle school. But whatever, I'm like, I gotta take precaution for the baby. So then after that, my boyfriend gets out of work. And I'm like, you know, babe, I'm inducing my labor today. So here he goes, like, you're crazy. He's gonna come when he wants. Seen that hand move? I seen it. But, like, he's gonna come when he wants, regardless of what you do. Like, you're being dramatic. He's not gonna come early. So I said, okay, whatever, let's go food shopping. So we're doing food shopping in Stop and Shop. And I'm like, I gotta get a pineapple. He's like, why are you getting a pineapple? I'm like, no, I'm lying to you. We're in ShopRite. I'm like, I gotta get a pineapple. And he's like, Des, you don't even like eat pineapples like that or whatever. Like, he's looking at me like, why are you so insisting on getting a whole pineapple? And I'm like, I need it to induce my labor. So get the pineapple. You will walk through almost the whole store like twice because my pregnancy brain sucked. So I had a grocery list in front of me and I still forgot half of the things I was supposed to get and had to like walk back to aisles that I've been in like 3 times already. Like, it was just crazy. So After that, I had like a ShopRite list and I had a Walmart list. So I'm like, these are the things you're gonna get from ShopRite and these are the things you're gonna get from Walmart. So we get home. I cut up the pineapple. I eat the pineapple. Probably didn't eat the whole one because he never wants anything until I have it. So of course he decides to eat the pineapple with me. Like, okay, let's just induce your labor too. But then we ended up never even going to Walmart because he's like, I'm tired. And he's like playing the game. So after the pineapple, probably like an hour or two later, I'm like, whatever, I'm just gonna cook dinner. So I decided to make beef stew. Why? Because that's like one of the longest things to cook, especially if you don't have like a slow cooker or like a crock pot. You're just cooking in a regular pot. It usually takes so long because you have to make sure the meat is tender and cooked at the same time. Like, because you know, most beef is like tender when it's not fully cooked, but who doesn't eat fully cooked meat? Like, I mean, if you don't, that to each his own, but to me, like, well done is what I do. But and so I start dinner and I'm like, babe, I'm kind of like crampy. And he's like, what's crampy? And I'm like, I don't know, I just feel a little funny. So he's like, whatever, you're just thinking too hard. So I'm like, well, another way I seen on Google is that like sex induces labor. So he's like, Destiny. And I'm like, I'm serious. Like, it's supposed to, you know, something about the semen makes the cervix open. So, you know, he's all for it. Like, yeah, sure, why not? So we did the deal. And then I went back to cooking. He went back to playing the game. So after that, I'm like, but it says multiple times. Like, so now the beef stew is like prepped. And like, finally I add the water for the simmer. And I'm like, babe? He's like, what? I'm like, can we go again? He's like, again? We just finished. I'm like, yeah, but I think it's going to take like a lot for the baby to come. Like, one time is probably not going to help me. So we did the do again. And then I'm like, still don't feel anything. So I'm like, babe, one more time. He's like, Destiny, I'm mad tired. I'm like, one more time. And now he's on, I think it was like 2K. And he had his headphones and his mic in and all that stuff. And they're like, she's asking to have sex again. And I'm like, damn, just tell all my business, right? Like, why don't we unplug this? Like, so they didn't hear me asking you for sex. Like, come on now. This is supposed to be intimate between me and you. But now the whole world knows because I was asked to make a YouTube video about it. But, you know, he told people first. So now that I'm telling, it's like, you know, it's not as bad because people already know. But he's like, hold on, guys. Destiny's trying to induce his labor. And he sounded so sad. And I'm just like, you ain't going through nothing. Like, you're not about to push a baby out. Like, this is just fun for you. So we do it, they do again. Now, this is the third time. So after the third time, I'm like, wow, like, my back hurts. Like, I'm starting to feel these, like, faint cramps. And I'm like, they're just cramps. I've had worse period cramps than this. So I finished the beef stew, and now I'm on a pot of rice. I'm making a pot of white rice. And I always cook my white rice after the meat is done, only because of the simple fact that white rice cooks itself, and it cooks faster than meat. So I don't want the rice to be sitting too long while the meat's cooking. So I usually do it like right when the meat is like maybe 2 or 3 minutes until it's done, I'll start the rice. So I start the rice, and I felt the cramps getting like a little more intense. So I'm like, this is not it. So I'm sitting on the edge of the bed and I'm like rolling my hips like in this awkward circular position because I seen like hip thrust helps you induce labor too. So every time I'm having a contraction, now I'm rolling my hips. And as soon as I felt the cramping, I started explaining it to my friend, like, because she has 2 kids. So I'm like, she has to know like if I'm in labor. So I'm like explaining to her, like, you know, I'm having these faint cramps and they're mostly like in my back, but like they're not too severe. She's like, that sounds like labor pains. That's when you start timing them. So now I'm timing cramps, cooking rice, smelling beef stew. And I'm just like, he got to come today, like right now. So I'm like, okay, they're like 5 minutes apart. She's like, that sounds like you're going into labor soon. Like, maybe you should go to the hospital. I'm like, my rice isn't done. Relax. Like, So I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm having contractions. I don't know if they're Braxton Hicks or they're contractions. And it's like 5 minutes apart. She's like, Destiny, you're joking. Like, you're just overthinking it because you want the baby to come. Blah, 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 blah. Because everyone's like, oh, it's your first kid. You're not really going to know. Trust me, I knew. So I'm like, no, Mom, these are contractions. So she's like, so then let's go to the hospital. Because she swore I was joking. Like, why would I joke about this? So I'm like, no, I can't. My race is not done. She's like, what the hell are you worried about rice for? Because you're about to have a baby. So I'm like, because if they send me back home, like, I'm going to want my rice done for this beef stew. So she's like, oh, God, Destiny, like, what are you, just, all right, whatever. So now they're getting a little more intense. And I'm like, babe, I think this is it. Like, I think I'm in labor. And he's just like, really? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, so let's go to the hospital. I'm like, the rice isn't done. Like, what are y'all not understanding? Like, dinner needs to be finished. So just in case I come back, I don't gotta worry about cooking. I don't gotta worry about soggy rice, burnt rice, hard rice, none of that. Like, everything will be done. I'll just heat up my plate and call it a night. He's like, Destiny, why are you worried about the rice? I'm like, listen, put the hospital bag in the car. Like, you know, just be ready. So the rice is done now. Now I'm feeling them like a little bit more, but I'm just like, yeah, like, let's go. He's coming. So I go to the ER and they admit me into, no, they didn't admit me into labor and delivery yet. They sent me to the labor and delivery unit. Now, if anyone has ever been to the hospital for pregnancy, anything after, I think, 4 months.
So you go to like an ER like thing in the delivery part of the hospital, delivery unit, whatever you want to call it. So I'm laying there in the bed, and now these contractions are like in my ass. Like, I can't sit, but like I'm calm because like I have a really high pain tolerance. So I'm like, I'm good. Like, so now my boyfriend, disrespectful as fuck, is sitting next to me, eating the white rice and beef stew I just slaved for like 3 hours cooking. And I'm like, I'm so hungry. And the lady's like, well, you can't eat just in case you're like in delivery because you're not supposed to eat because they don't want you to like poop on yourself. So I'm just looking at him eat like, so you're really about to do this to me? Like, so he's like, Dad, you're not even in labor. The girl's like, if you were in labor, this is what she tells me. Now let's make it make sense. She goes, ma'am, if you were in labor, your demeanor would be completely different. You would want to be punching the wall. You're laying here too calm. And I'm looking at her like, punch the wall? I'm about to punch you. Like, are you telling me because I'm not in here screaming my head off, I'm not in labor? Like, what if I just handled pain very well? Which I did. So I'm like, whatever. So she checks me. She's like, you're a centimeter. You know, when people have their first baby, sometimes they think they're in labor because of the pain. But, you know, it takes time for this stuff to happen. You'll be back in 2 days. She said, I'll see you Sunday. This was Friday that I went in. So I'm looking at this girl like, I'm in labor. Like, that's it. So she discharges me. And I'm like sitting here crying. I'm like, Mom, I can't. I'm in so much pain. I'm in labor. My mom's like, so tell them you're in labor. I'm like, I told her. And she told me to go home. So now I'm walking out of the unit door. Not even out the hospital door. Not out the front door. Nothing. I'm walking out the unit door. I'm walking out the labor and delivery specific unit door because I didn't even walk out the delivery unit door yet. And my water breaks. Straight down, I had on a pair of black leggings, straight down the back of my leggings. I felt hot water just dripping down the back of me. I'm like, Ma, my water broke. Don't mind my cat. I just got a cat for Christmas for the baby, and that's a whole nother YouTube video. But, so I'm like, my water broke. I can't deal with this. Like, I'm in so much pain. So my mom's like, no, we're going back. She's in labor. So we walk back into the unit. My mom's like, she's in labor. Her water just broke. So the same nurse that just told me, like, ma'am, you're not in labor and discharged me comes like, oh, your water did break. You are in labor. And I'm looking at this, like, nurse. You're lucky I'm about to have a kid. See me in 2 days when I'm discharged, please. So now they bring me back. Now they admit me as a patient in labor. And I get a private room. And it's my boyfriend and my mom. So I'm just like, it's happening. Like, I'm crying. I'm telling my boyfriend, like, these contractions are in my butt. Like, they're in my butt. I can't do this. They're in my butt. And he's hysterical laughing, like, Destiny, please stop saying they're in your butt. You're making me laugh. They're not in your butt. I'm like, no, they're in my butt. I feel like I gotta poop. And he's like, Destiny, stop saying that. He's laughing at me. Like, I'm in the most pain I've ever experienced in my life. And he's laughing at me because the pain is in my butt. So I'm just like, what am I gonna do with you? Like, oh my God. So now they give me this robe and they tell me to like strip all my clothes off. So I'm like in the bathroom stripping my clothes off. This is kind of graphic too, but it's part of the story. So I'm in the bathroom stripping my clothes off, and then a glob of like blood and I just like swore it was my baby, and I'm like, my baby's on the floor. They're like, no, it's just blood. And I'm just like, blood from where? Like, they're like, no, it's just part of delivery. I'm like, okay, whatever. So now I'm like waddling, hands on my back, like, okay, let's have a baby. So I lay on the bed, and now they have to check my cervix. And how you check cervix is you literally, like, they put gloves on, and they take their 2 fingers, and this is like your vagina, and they like go in and find your cervix hole and like push. So they had to check how dilated it was, and I think they do it based on how wide their fingers can open. So keep in mind, 15 minutes prior, when I was in the ER part of the delivery, I was a centimeter. When she puts her finger up, the rest of my water breaks all over the bed. I felt like I peed like a river of water, and it was hot. And she goes, oh, she's 6 going on 7 centimeters. She can get an epidural. So when I tell you, if you need to induce your labor, do what I did, because I went from 1 centimeter to 6 going on 7 in 15 minutes. So now I'm like, an epidural. Like, I didn't really want it at first, but then I'm just like, I gotta have it because this pain in my butt is something else. And I could not sit for my life. Like, they're like, ma'am, you have to lay down. And I'm like, I can't lay down. It's in my butt. And here's my boyfriend, once again, started laughing. So the beast is waking up. So for my epidural, only one person can be in the room with me. And of course my boyfriend, I'm like, you know, it's my child's father, let him stay in the room. So my mom leaves. Oh, Pop Smurf, what happened? Oh, baby, don't cry. Okay. Hi, baby. Hi, Papas. Hey, do you want to say hi? Say hi to everyone. He looks nothing like me. Say hi. Say hi. Oh, don't cry. I'm sicky. I think he has a cold. You say hi. Say hi, Papa Smurf. And he has cradle cap, so the top of his hair fell off. He was born with a lot of hair, but anyway, so back to the epidural. So they're putting the epidural in, and it hurts. Like, they numb you with local anesthesia in your back, but the needle is so big and long, you feel it going through every vertebrae. And as you're getting an epidural, right, you're having contractions. And now you can't move because they're like, if you move, you're going to be paralyzed from the waist down. And I'm just like, from the waist down? They're like, yeah, you know, it could be temporary or it could be permanent. So just try not to move. So I'm just like, okay. So now I'm leaning on the nurse that they assigned to me. And I have like my neck down. And she's like, deep breath, deep breath. And I'm like, deep, nothing. I'm in pain. So they start putting, that's you? Is that you? So they start putting the epidural like through my spine. And I'm like, this hurts. Like, it felt like it was puncturing. It was so weird. Like, it was honestly one of the weirdest feelings I think I've ever experienced. But then after that, they were like, you know, I thought I was going to be in La La Land, like no pain, and I kept feeling the pain. It felt like as if I did ever have an epidural. So I'm like crying, and I'm telling the nurse, like, it didn't work. I can't do this. And she's like, hold on, let me get the anesthesiologist. So then the guy comes back, and he's like, what? You still feel it? I'm like, yes. And I'm literally calling out my contractions, like, I'm having one. They're like, yeah, doc, she is. Like, she needs it again. So they ripped this long needle. Now, they just spent time putting a needle about this big in my back. They took the time to take it out and do it all over again. So now this time my mom was in the room. My boyfriend stepped out because I was just like, you know, something's not right here. So they did it again. So now this time I still felt the pain, but it was like a little weaker than it was the first time. So I'm just like, okay, like, you know, I could deal with this. It was faint. I'm like, I could deal with this. So, oh, come to find out, they handed me a button, and because I was in so much pain, I never pressed the button. So technically, I had local anesthesia in my back as my epidural. Never pressed the button to inject medication. I had like the initial injection of the medication, but I never pressed it after that. So, give it up to me because I'm a trooper. But anyway, so now it's about like probably I want to say 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like in enough like in a position where I can like sleep. Like it was very faint. I was just laughing and happy. So now my boyfriend takes a nap and I take a nap for like 45 minutes, an hour. Then I'm like, Mom, and she's like, what? I'm like, he's coming, and she's like, what? I'm like, I can feel it opening, like she need to come in here, like the nurse needs to come now. So she's telling the nurse, like, she's in labor. They're like, okay, we're gonna call the doctor. So now my doctor comes, I guess an hour after that, but I was asleep again. And he claims, he peeks in the room and sees that I was asleep and figured, let me get the last little bit of sleep I could before the baby's here. And I'm just like, so you left me in labor for a whole another hour, because now it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, because you wanted to be nice? Like, that's not nice. So now it's like 6 o'clock. So I'm like, I feel him coming out. I can feel his head there. Like, he's coming. So they start doing all this prep stuff. And they prep the room. So now at any moment he can come. Now my boyfriend's up. My mom's up. She's excited. She's like recording the whole thing, even though you're only allowed to take pictures. This was a very special moment. It was her first grandchild. She had to record. So, and when I tell you she recorded everything. So, the doctor is like, I'm just like, he's like, no, like, give me a hard cough. So he's like looking at my vagina, and I'm like, and he's like, yeah, his head is right here, and when you cough, he's coming through. So I'm like, okay, like, so can we get a move on? So now at this point, my legs felt like they were like 100 pounds each, and I'm like, I can't lift them. So I'm like slapping my thighs and like trying to like wake them up. They did not wake up. So I lifted my legs and I put them on these two like leg restraints at the bottom of the bed. And I'm just like, okay, like, I'm ready. So, it makes her sticky, Papa. So I'm like, I'm ready. So he's like, all right, so every time you feel a contraction, tell me. You're going to take a deep breath, and you're going to push and count to 10. So I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound like much, but we'll see. Never did I ever know that 10 seconds were so long when you're holding your breath. So I'm just like, okay, I'm ready. A contraction's coming. And he's looking like, no, the hell it's not. And I'm like, yeah, it's coming. He's like, oh, now it's there. But we missed it. So I'm like, so why didn't you listen to me when I said it was coming? He's like, honestly, you're calling your contraction before they even come. I'm like, because I feel them creeping up. Like, he's like, I've never experienced this before. I'm like, listen, I don't even know because the epidural ain't even helped me. So I'm telling you now, sir, it's coming. Like, just listen to me. So he's like, all right, let's go. So now at this point, my boyfriend has the complete scrub outfit on. When I tell you complete scrub outfit, I mean even the shower cap and the little sock covers that cover your shoes. So I'm like, this fool. So he's at the top of my head, and my mom is at the bottom, like, in between my legs, recording everything. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So the doctor goes, all right, your contraction's coming? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, deep breath. Oh, my baby. Are you okay? Okay. So he's like, deep breath. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like counting, like, 1, 2, 3. Like, I had no breath, but I'm counting to 10. And I did that 3 times. And then he's like, all right, release. So I stopped. And then he's like, he's almost there. He's almost there. So I'm like, okay. So he's like, let's try it again. So I'm like, all right. He's like, push. So I'm like, 2. So once again, I count all the way to 10. And I did that 3 times again. And then at that point, he was like there, but like, he just wasn't like popping out. So he's like, one more time. So I'm like, okay. So I take a deep breath, and as I'm pushing, he like snips the side, and the baby just falls out. So now my boyfriend takes the time to peek down. So once the baby comes flying out with like all this blood and like mucus and all this stuff all over him, my boyfriend runs into the bathroom, starts stripping all his clothes off. Like, it's hot. I feel like I gotta throw up. And he's like, he puts the sink on. He's like throwing water all over his face. And then he comes back out, and like the baby's like on my chest, and I'm like breastfeeding him already because he came out starving. Like, we didn't eat the beef stew and white rice. Like, let's talk about it. We're hungry. And I've been eating ice chips for the last 6 hours that didn't do nothing. But, so he comes down, he sees the baby, and he's like so happy, and we're all just like looking at him. And like, no, I didn't cry. I don't know like why. I was more happy, so like I didn't cry. But as soon as my baby came out, he punched me with a face full of placenta fluid and amniotic fluid and mucus and blood, and it was just punch, and he punched like right here. I'm like, thank God he didn't put his hand in my mouth because I would have vomited. But like, I couldn't cry because my son punched me in my face. Like, I already knew this relationship was about to be great because I just got punched in my face, and he's not even 10 seconds out of the womb. But yeah, so he was born at 6:46, and he weighed 6 pounds and 4.7 ounces. Not 47, but like 4.7, almost 6 pounds 5 ounces. So that is the story of how Kason Christopher Bush got out of the womb. And now this is 4 months postpartum, and he is like 22 pounds and the most active crazy baby ever. And yes, he has a Thanksgiving pajama on because they're pajamas. But this is my pumpkin, and he's sick and looks nothing like me. Everyone in the mall thinks I stole this kid because look at his color and look at mine, and he looks just like his father. But the end.
But like, subscribe, and comment, and don't forget to share the word.